Hello all, very good morning. Thanks for joining the session. Let me share my screen. So this is the demo one from Spring Boot Microservices. So course is Spring Boot and microservices, meaning Spring Boot microservices and Spring Cloud is the actual course. And course duration is 3 months. That means 90 days. And the course fee is 8,000. And prerequisite is Spring Core. This is very, very important. Without Spring Core, it is very tough for you to understand the Spring Boot. So Spring Core is mandatory prerequisite. So we will give you the Spring Core recorded videos. Already Spring Core has been conducted. So those recorded videos will be given to you, very in-depth and then very useful concepts of the Spring Core we discussed. So those Spring Core recorded videos will be given to you. And with this fee 8K, what you will get? So you will get a soft copy of the material. So soft copy of the material you can get. Soft copy of the material you will get. And then source code. Source code you will get from the my GitLabs. So I will give the access to you, my GitLabs. And then the recordings will be provided. And the validity of the recordings are 6 months, provided with the validity of 6 months. That means you are attending for 3 months plus 3 more months the recordings will be given to you, right? So this is about the course description in short. So maybe who are all attending the Spring Core, who are all already joined, those are also here. Maybe 5 or 10 new people were also here. So that is the reason I'm just giving the course outline one more time. So it is Spring Boot microservices and Spring Cloud, and the duration is 3 months. Fee is 8K, and the prerequisite is Spring Core. Material soft copy will be given to you. All the soft copy materials will be given to you. That means as soon as you have done your registration, you will be added to the Google Classroom. The same pattern we are doing for all my batches. So I will be added to you the Google Classroom, where you can get all your classwork, meaning the materials and all, you can get it from here. Fine. So I will be add you to this classroom so that you will be able to access the material, right? Soft copy of the material will be given. Similarly, source code repository is also created. So you can go and then get the source code repository access as well. Fine. So it is a continuation of the 8:30 a.m. session, because in 8:30 a.m. session already we completed the Spring Core and we have started the Spring Boot, isn't it? So it is a continuation session to the already joined candidates. Spring Boot, Microservices, Spring Cloud, whoever already joined at 8:30 a.m. my batch. So this is the demo for all of others who have joined, and plus the newcomers who are attending for the demos for all of these 5 days are the common classes. Then from the 6th day onwards, link will be changed, and then we will be move on to our older link only. Fine. Then let us write our agenda, meaning the roadmap, how we will execute the Spring Boot Microservices Spring Cloud, importance of the Spring Boot Microservices course, actually, why you should have to take this course, and till what extent you should have to take this course. We know, right? So nowadays, Spring Core is mandatory, folks. Spring Core is mandatory. If you don't know Spring Core, it is very tough for you to understand the Spring Boot. If you don't know Spring Core, get the videos, follow the video. If you are confident enough to follow the videos, then continue in this batch. Otherwise, without Spring Core, it will be very tough, because all my classes will be with a in-depth discussion, meaning I always will go to the code level, source code level, meaning the the framework source code level. I always will try to go there and then try to connect the dots. So that is the reason, to understand my sessions, Spring Core, a very good knowledge on the Spring Core, at least the basic knowledge in the Spring Core is mandatorily required. Okay, I believe, please brush up your Spring Core concepts if you would like to continue. Fine. Next, what is the agenda? Why the market is expecting a lot of people from the Spring Boot background? Why the market is demanding? Why the market is demanding the Spring Boot people in the market nowadays by paying a lot of salaries, right? They are not even hesitating to pay 100% of the hike with the current CTC what you have, on top of the current CTC what you have. Why? What the benefits that the company will get? Okay, assume one person with one technology, doing a particular task meaning a set of requirement, right? Task meaning login, registration, dashboard, maybe that is called as task, actually, right? Implementation of a particular requirement. Okay, why you guys are not understanding, meaning whoever have joined, this is the Spring Boot microservices session. I already have completed Spring Core. Who is this actually? Hey, Srinu, what is the issue here? Yes, Spring Core, we have completed Spring Core, na? And what about Spring Boot and microservices? This is the Spring Boot and microservices day 1. Earlier, we started only one class on Spring Boot and micro, probably 2-3 classes we started. It is the continuation to that. Okay, we are now started Spring Boot and microservices, not Spring Core. I don't go from the Spring Core. Spring Core won't be covered in this sessions. Only Spring Boot. Don't worry. Only Spring Boot. Only Spring Boot. Okay, no Spring Core. No revision of Spring Core. No concepts of Spring Core will be discussed here. Only Spring Boot. That is the reason the prerequisite is Spring Core. So who know the Spring Core? Join here. If you don't know the Spring Core, go and then brush up your concepts and then join here. If you're confident enough, you will join here and then parallelly brush up the Spring Core videos. That is also fine, but that is again as per your confidence, how you will manage the things. But Spring Core is mandatory, because in-depth concept of Spring Boot we will discuss. However, why the market is expecting the Spring Boot guys to be onboarded? So just see one scenario. One person with one technology, he will be able to complete the task in 10 days. Okay. The same person with Spring Boot, the same task, he will be able to complete in 3 days. With one technology, maybe some other technology, he has taken 10 days. But when coming to Spring Boot, it just was taken 3 days. What you observe here? What you observe here? Faster development is happening. Faster development is happening. Correct? Development is happening very fast. So when the development is happening very fast, cost is also like that only to the customer, meaning to the client. So one client came to your company and asked the product to be delivered in 6 months. You agreed upon that, meaning your manager or delivery manager, whatever, your management agreed upon that, and then completed in 3 months only by showing the double billing. Ideally, they have kept only 1-2 persons. Assume one client came to your company and asking to complete the project in 6 months. Just I'm taking an example only for you to understand the importance of it. Okay, and the management quoted 12 resources. 12 resources. Maybe management quoted 6 developers. 6 developers, right? For them, they might have added the 6 developers billing, but originally they managed the application with the 3 developers. That means what happened? With the 3 developers only, in 6 months, the application is completable. Correct. What happened? Company is getting benefited double. Correct. Companies getting double benefit the company is getting, because in the same time 3 developers are good enough to complete the project, but billing is showing as 6 developers billing. Company is getting benefiting. Why? Because these 3 developers are Spring Boot developers. So what? So they can develop the applications very fast. Now what you might understand, why you need to learn Spring Boot? Because using Spring Boot we can develop the applications very fast. How we can develop, sir? That is the question you might be in your mind. That is why you are attending the Spring Boot, actually, to know that magic, right? How the Spring Boot is able to deliver the things very fast. What is the magic behind the Spring Boot? To know that magic, you are joining here, right? So if you know the Spring Boot, your company is getting benefited, as well as you also will get benefited. When the company is getting the double billing, why can't they give you the 100% hike? Or maybe why can't they hire you with the 100% hike on your current CTC? They will be. This is what happening in the market now, right? Customer is also happy because within the 6 months his product is delivering. Client is happy because his project is delivering in the 6 months within the timelines. Maybe 1 or 2 months get delayed. That's okay. That is acceptable. Everywhere it will be. But client is happy actually. So the company is managing with the 3 developers, but showing the billing for 6 developers. So company is happy. And company is also giving you, because you are doing a hard work, company is also giving you the money. All are getting benefited. But this faster development is happening because of what? Because of the Spring Boot. So what is this Spring Boot? And before knowing what is this Spring Boot, let us know the roadmap. Okay. So let us see the roadmap of this Spring Boot. I'll address all your questions. Most of you guys are asking me the questions regarding these recordings, from where you will get the recordings and all. Recordings will be provided, meaning once you done your registration, recordings will be directly given to your Gmail drive. Recordings will be uploaded directly to your Gmail drive. So while you are registering, please give the proper Gmail drive, meaning Gmail, proper Gmail you give, right? So then you can get the recordings from there. So Spring Core is providing the Spring Core videos are providing, no need to pay any extra within the fee 8,000. Spring Core recorded videos are also sharing to you. No need to pay any extra amount for that. Fine. That is what I'm trying to explain in the roadmap. So what is the roadmap? Now in the roadmap, just let me explain you what we will do in this throughout session. And I already have explained it to the already attending folks. Just bear with me. I also discussed this with the new members joined today, and then let's go ahead. So here this course you will learn in 3 stages. The first stage is what, learning the Spring Boot, complete Spring Boot. You will learn on one project. So you no need to attend any other real-time Java project classes, because I will complete the Spring Boot on a real-time project. So this is what the first project, that is a Spring Boot project architecture. So this is what the exact view we gonna implement. So time leaf we will use and Spring Boot we will use. Then we will implement this dashboard. So for that, you can see here, this is exactly the same I'm talking about, isn't it? So let me log in, admin and admin. Now see, this is the exact dashboard that you are seeing here. And here we have the modules called categories, products, orders, customers. So categories module, products module, orders module, customer module. All these modules we will implement in a single application. All these modules we will implement in a single application. So this is the single application which contains all the modules. Here we will follow the concept called package by feature. Sir, what is that? We don't know. No need. You only need to know only Spring Core. Rest of the things I will take care. You don't need to know anything, but Spring Core you should have to know. So here we will follow the package by feature, and the modules here we call it as a features. So feature called the customer. Of course, your known terminology, you call them as a modules, no problem. Categories module, products module, orders module, customers module. So these are all the modules, whatever are mentioned here, 4 modules. Out of these 4 modules, I'll explain this customers module. Categories modules you have to do. I will again explain this, meaning I will do this product module. You have to, meaning I will explain, meaning I will do this product module. This orders module will be explained, or we will do in our microservices implementation, but not here. Okay. So the timings are from 8:30 a.m. The timings are from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. But initially I will go till only 9:30. Initially I will go till only 9:30. Slowly I will increase the time till 9:45, and then increase it to 10. So timings are from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. 1.5 hour session. In this 1.5 hour session, your session will be happened for exact 1 hour, and 15 minutes we will recall, and then 15 minutes we will discuss on the doubts and all. So 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes we'll discuss the subject, and the next 15 minutes we'll do an interaction. That means you might have the questions, right? While the session is happening, write down your questions and then ask me. In the last 15 minutes we'll discuss. So what I'm explaining now, this project, entire project we will do using the Spring Boot. So you no need to work on or you no need to separately join for any project batches. No need, not required. Everything we will discuss here. That means the validations, exception handling, CRUD operations, sorting, searching, pagination, all the things we will discuss series, right? So now we'll do some pagination. See, when I say 10, you have see 6 records now. When you say 5, you will see only 5 records. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 6th record you can see here, test 4. This is what you will do with your own hands. Here what we have used, just imagine what repository, meaning in the Spring Data JPA, we have used the paging and then sorting repository to achieve this pagination, right? That means what? You will learn the paging and then sorting repository details, and then you will apply here to make it a practical knowledge, to gain the practical implementation of it. Just a minute, let me plug in my charger, just in a moment. Fine. So what I am saying is practical plus the practical plus the theoretical coverage will be here. So as per the roadmap, we will implement the project on the retail e-commerce using the Spring Boot. In that project, you will learn the Spring Boot concepts. So why I have chosen this approach? Because you will get benefited. There will be a track. For example, I am now explaining the Spring Boot auto configuration concept, assume, or not auto configuration, just in case I'm explaining the Spring Boot data JPA. You assume I was taking some student example. Tomorrow I will explain the transactions. There might I have taken some employee example. That doesn't make sense to you. And you don't know where to apply the transactions, how to apply. Not only transactions, for example, validations I have taken. So I was completed transactions on employee object. Now I'm doing the validations on student object. So that doesn't make sense, right? So there will be no continuity, or there is no consistency. That means continuity of the components, there is no. So that is the reason I was taking it on one project, and a step-by-step approach you will learn this Spring Boot in this project. As you all know now the Spring Core, I'll explain first Spring Web MVC. In 1 or 2 days, we will see a problem with the Spring Web MVC. Then we will go to the Spring Boot, and we will see practically how Spring Boot eliminated or resolving the issues that we were faced in the Web MVC. However, so this is the phase 1 or step 1. So with this one, we will complete the Spring Boot. So on this project, we'll complete the Spring Boot. So what we will discuss in the Spring Boot, complete the things on, meaning I will complete the Spring Boot in this project. So what we will discuss in that Spring Boot. Okay, so course content, you even can get in our DURGASOFT website, but as the situation came, I'm just opening this course content and then would like to showcase you. All right, so first we will start with Spring Boot overview. So what is Spring Boot? Why we need to learn the Spring Boot? Why the companies are gathering most of the folks who know the Spring Boot? Why the companies are making Spring Boot as their de facto required technology, or maybe the framework, or maybe the utility, whatever it is, right? And then what are the features of Spring Boot? We'll understand with the problems that we were facing with this Spring Web MVC, ideally, right? So why Spring Boot came? To solve something, the Spring Boot came. So we need to know what it will solve, what it does solves. So what is the problem with the existing technology over the years?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I'm very sorry to say, but this is not the way actually. Uh, we are already completed one point means like half month, and we are on only means Spring Boot, and it is not starting yet. And means I know I can understand there are new students, but for them you could have taken other classes. This is like a wasting of time for existing student actually. I was
No,
very
no,
happy. I was very happy today. I will be starting the Spring Boot, but now we are keep on repeating the same thing.
no, no.
This is
I'm
not
just
fair.
just let me complete. Actually, I'm not taking the entire time on this course content. I'm just glancing the course content.
Yeah,
Then we will
I understand that, sir,
Hmm.
because new students has come
Correct,
inside the
correct.
batch. I
Hmm.
understand, but what about us actually, who are here for 1.5 months? And because now I'm getting company calls, and for on this I started applying, and I'm not able to answer the Spring Boot, and I'm hoping it will be completed soon, and I can crack the interviews. But now we are repeating same thing. As it is 5 days demo classes, I can expect more students will come, and all the students will ask this kind of question like what is happening, what will happen, and that will waste our time actually.
No, no, no. Actually, the plan is different. The plan is different. So what my plan is, I will directly start the Spring Boot concepts. Okay. The other guys who are joining, right? I will ask them to go through the course content that is available there, and they will start from the Spring Boot only. What is Spring Boot? From there they will start. Okay. So what is Spring Boot? From there they will start. But as this is the very beginning day, for example, the first day for others. So just let me glance the course content, not entire course content. Just let me glance it, what we will discuss. Then let me start this, what is Spring Boot. So tomorrow maybe other folks will join. For them, I don't show this one. I'll ask them to please go through the recording one. That is a demo recording one available. Right. So I am, please bear with me for 2 days only. Definitely I will take you guys onto the right track. Okay. So don't feel it as like a wasting of time. I know maybe attending this repeating session is a little painful, but just give me 2 days of time. Everything will be on the right track. Fine. So I understood. Time is very precious, right? So I understood. I'll also plan for the weekend longer sessions to cope up as much as possible. But all the members maybe with a different level of understandings, right? So that is the problem. So being the teachers, we need to you know see about all the kind of peoples. But however, please don't be in that mood. Just give me 1 or 2 days, then we will be onto the right track. Fine. So fine. So Spring Boot overview. So we'll discuss the Spring Boot features of Spring Boot and then creating the Spring Boot project using this one. So here we will see a 1 or 2 interview questions as well. Like the interviewers will ask you why we are going for the Spring Boot, as we already have this Spring WebMVC or maybe other frameworks in our current market, or maybe Spring WebMVC solidly using. Then why we are going for this one? And maybe they will ask the question, I have the Angular React JS application, then why should I go for the Spring Boot? This is completely, uh, you know, not right question itself, but the interviewer can ask you any questions, right? So my application is Angular or React application. Why should I use your Spring Boot? So these are completely different. Spring Boot is different, Angular React is different. But the question, see, why I have to use the Spring Boot? I have the Angular and then React JS, or maybe. So we need to justify why we are using the Spring Boot first of all. Okay, then creating the Spring Boot project using these 3 ways, either CLI, either initializer, or the STS. So there is another IDE as well, which is giving the Spring Boot support inside in it. That is IntelliJ. If you are familiar with IntelliJ, use IntelliJ, but I will use the Spring Tool Suite because it is just like an Eclipse And most of the students were already familiar using the Eclipse. So that is the reason I will choose the STS. Okay, fine. Then you will understand the Spring Boot application components and then the Spring Boot application packaging internals. This is very important. And then auto configuration, all these things you will learn. So every topic will be get with one interview question for sure, one or more interview questions for sure. So the color, whatever I have changed here are more priority. We should have to give more priority to them. That is the reason I have given this color. And then, profiles concept and data access layer, all these, unit testing, integration testing, all these things will be discussed in your project. And then finally the security. So if we can go to here, if we can go to the already existing, this is the 7 AM batch running. So we already have written the test cases as well, if you can see. So customer data repository test, customer service test, and we gonna yet to write the integration test cases. Now the unit test cases were done. See this how we have taken the unit test cases. These unit test cases were done, and then we gonna do the integration test cases with the marketer. So the same also will be applied to you. So whatever the components you will implement, for example, the repository layer, service layer, controller layer, those are all the components, the test cases we will write. Fine. Yes, you can get this course content from the DURGASOFT website. So roadmap is what? So first, let us spend the time in Spring Boot and complete the project on Spring Boot. So complete the project meaning not all the modules. Don't expect to be complete all the modules. As I told, customer module I'll explain, I will do. Products module I will do, but categories module you have to do. I'll explain how to do and all. This will be a task for you. And then this orders module, we will take it up in our microservices, not here. Okay. So this is what the roadmap. First, we will see the Spring Boot and then complete the project. In Spring Boot, as you already know, what we will apply, what are the major concepts we will apply is validations, and of course Spring Boot will implement the project, right? So Spring Web MVC we will work on extensively. We will use a Spring Web MVC plus Spring Core concepts. So validations, and then global exception handling, which is very commonly asking now in interviews, global exception handling using the AOP concepts. And then we will see the the transaction management. But before transaction management, we will first complete the Spring Data GPA, and then we will go for the Spring transaction management. So why I'm explaining here, why I'm explaining all these things, the Spring transaction management we can handle very easily in this application, because this application is having all the modules inside in it only. Meaning what I am trying to explaining you is, if you can see, we are going to implement one Spring Boot project which contains all these modules. So applying the transactions also will be within this application only, right? Meaning the modules are bundled inside a single application. So this is called what? Monolithic application or monolith application. So if all the bundles, meaning all the modules were bundled together in a single archive meaning your war file or jar file, that is called as an archive. So if all these modules were bundled in a single archive, then that is called as a monolithic application. So applying the transactions is very easy in monolithic applications, but whereas applying the transactions in microservices is very tough. So the interviewer will ask you the question, first of all, what are transactions? He will ask. So you should have an answer like, what are transactions? What are the transaction states? Right? How we can maintain the transactions in the monolithic applications. And when coming to the microservices, how the transactions will be managed is what, very difficult concept it is. So, but you should be able to justify. So when you know about the transactions in and out, then you will answer that question here in the monolithic application. Plus, when you go to the microservices architecture, there also you will justify. That is the reason we'll discuss here. And then we will use the concept called profiles. So this concept is very, very important concept for us, because environment specific configuration we need to do. So here Maven profiles, Maven is also providing the concept called profiles, and then Spring Boot profiles. So the difference between these Maven profiles and then Spring Boot profiles we need to understand, and then we need to apply the profiles concept. What is profile and all? Maybe we will discuss later in time. Maybe this is not the right time to say, but profiles concept simply to make you to understand without building the code, again and again, build the code at only once, build code at once and deploy it in many environments. Guys, can you please mute? Can you please mute? So build code at once and deploy it in many environments is our final motto. This is what we need to achieve, because this is the cloud agnostic rule. Maybe you might not understand what is the cloud agnostic and all, but to go to this level, we need to apply the profiles concepts. Of course, this is not possible with the profiles concept, but profiles concept is the first step to go to this level. What is profiles and all? Maybe we will discuss later on time. Right. So validations, like global exception handling, data JPA, transaction management, profiles, and then finally the security. So these are the major concepts that we will implement in our application. It is not so easy as how I was written here, isn't it? There is a lot of concepts you need to understand behind the scene. But however, with applying all these enterprise things, we will see our project. In the security, I will use IDP, identity provider. With the security, I will use identity provider called Keycloak. So later in time, this will be helpful for you to handling the SSO in microservices as well, which is very important interview question nowadays. So that's about the Spring Boot roadmap. So once after the Spring Boot is completed, then the same Spring Boot application we will use for our microservices development. So in microservices development, what we will do, we will use the same Spring Boot application. What is like here, that Spring Boot application series, if you can see the difference, this is inside one big box, categories module, products module, orders module. But now here it is independent, right? This category module have its own box, product have its own box, like that have its independently executable. This is what we done actually, we were taken out to these applications, we have taken out the applications and then managing them as a separate applications. We have taken out the modules and managing the modules as the application, separate applications here. Here all are the modules in one application, but in microservices each and every module is one application. Got the difference? Here all the modules are in one application, but here each and every module is becoming a one application. So that means what? That means what? We have to apply some microservices patterns, and then we have to drill down. We have to drill down the Spring Boot application to microservices. We have to drill down the Spring Boot application to microservices. So drilling down the Spring Boot application to microservices is we can do with the two things. One is greenfield. One is greenfield applications or greenfield microservices, we can say. And the second one is brownfield microservices. So what are these terms and all? Going forward, you will learn brownfield microservices. So we will do this brownfield microservices, meaning already we have the application existed. That application we will convert into microservices by applying the various microservices patterns. By applying the various microservices patterns. So that is called what? Brownfield microservices. Once microservices are completed, right? That means what? Whatever you are seeing here, customers, orders, products, categories, these are all becomes a separate microservices. Now all are within the same application. One moment. Sorry. Right. So categories, products, orders, and then customers. These are all now in one application. But later they will be moved to the separate applications called microservices. So those separate applications called microservices will be integrated using the stateless architecture. Here you will understand the REST standards first. So you need to know about the RESTful concepts first. When we are starting the microservices, so we will discuss the brownfield, greenfield microservices concept. Then I'll explain the REST architecture, RESTful architecture and standards. So these RESTful architecture and then standards, when we discuss, we always referred one term called client server architecture. So what I would like to tell you is once the microservices are implemented, then we will use the React.js to integrate with it. So guys who don't know the React.js and who want to become a full stack developer, go and then learn the React.js. So using React.js, we will integrate these microservices. So once after this microservices implementation is completed, then in the next phase, we will, go and then we will just let me go and then show you the next slide. That is the final production architecture. So this is our final production architecture. I said we will use the Keycloak, right? So here in the place of Keycloak, I use WSO2, but we will use Keycloak only as our IDP. But this is our final architecture. Maybe you might not understand what it is now at this moment, but once you completed the Spring Cloud concepts and then the Docker concepts. So Docker also I'll explain to you. Docker also will be covered to you, but not Kubernetes, only Docker, not Kubernetes. Only Docker I will cover. So this is our AWS environment, if we can see. That means I won't cover AWS, but we will take the AWS as one environment. Okay, in that environment, we will set up our production. So we will use the cache, we will use the security, we will use the gateway, we will use the ELK, and then RabbitMQ or Kafka. Let us use Kafka, and then Grafana, Prometheus, Jipkin, lot of tools we will use. And also we will use the registries. See this registry, and then the we will use the config server, lot of concepts we will use. And then finally we made this production architecture with the microservices. These are all microservices. See, because separate category service will have its a Spring Boot application. It will have its separate Dockerizing and all, separate database, separate security and all. And here we are using the MySQL. Here we are using the MongoDB. Here we are using the what is this? The AWS DB. And here we are using again MySQL. So different databases we will use for different microservices as well. That is called polyglot architecture. And if you can see, I have was used Sleuth here. Sleuth for what? Microservices tracing and microservices tracking. When one microservice is communicating with another microservice, this is a Very famous question since all the 4-5 years. Meaning at least since all 4 years, this is the very famous interview question. How one microservice will communicate to another microservice. On the single question, 10 questions will be derived by the interviewer, but that's okay. So the microservices communication and all we will see. But what I would like to tell you is when one microservice will communicate with the chain of other microservices, in order to track, we will use the sleuth concept. So tracking, traceability is there. So that is the reason we are using the resilience 4J here. So maybe these terms are might new for you, but this is the overview of the course that I was planned. So it is a 3 steps process. Step 1, we will do the project on the Spring Boot. Step 2, we will write the microservices, meaning we will convert the same project into the microservices, because you have already worked on here. So you definitely have a very good understanding on the Spring Boot project. So microservices, making them to microservices is very easy for you. And lot of challenges we will face here. For that, we will apply the microservices patterns. So here, moreover, you will learn about the microservices patterns. So I'll explain what are the patterns and all. Probably in the Spring Core, you already have learned the couple of patterns. So going forward, we will learn the microservices patterns as well here. So once the microservices is done, then we will build the ecosystem. Microservices ecosystem we will build. In this microservices ecosystem, we will apply the Spring Cloud concepts and we will Dockerize them, and then we will deploy in the AWS. So deploy these Dockerized applications in the AWS. So this is the final your production architecture. You can even draw this architecture in front of your interviewer. When the interviewer will ask you, show me your microservices architecture, draw your microservices architecture, you can confidently draw this architecture. There is nothing wrong it. A lot of ways I was thought while drawing this architecture. So going forward, you will understand the exact meaning of this architecture. But what I would like to tell you is, when your interviewer will ask you, can you draw your production architecture? You can draw this architecture, microservices architecture. Fine. So this is the plan. So this is the plan. So this is the roadmap. Spring Boot, first complete the project, then microservices, then ecosystem. So let us start. So can you please mute? Yeah, thanks. So as we know now, the Spring Boot complete project we will do, and then microservices we will do, and then ecosystem we will do. So without late, let us start this Spring Boot. What is Spring Boot? So let us start without late. Let us start this Spring Boot. So what is Spring Boot? So what is Spring Boot? What is Spring Boot? These are the questions actually. Why we need to use Spring Boot? Why we need to use Spring Boot? Right? So these are the two questions everyone will get in your mind actually. Now let us see Spring Boot. I will write the Spring Boot official definition. So you may or may not understand that definition, but let me take you to the Spring Boot documentation. Let me take you to the Spring Boot documentation, and then would like to see the Spring Boot definition once. Right. So this is the official documentation, Spring Boot official documentation. So document overview and all was given here, and data. So this is the complete documentation details. So let us see this. If you are getting started with Spring Boot or Spring in general, start by reading this section. It answers the basic what, how, and why questions. This is what we were written here. What is Spring Boot and why we need to use the Spring Boot? So if you can see the official documentation's definition, Spring Boot helps you to create a standalone production grade Spring based applications that you can run. What they have written, Spring Boot helps you to create a standalone production grade Spring based applications that you can run. Maybe you may not understand by looking these words. Okay, don't worry about the official definitions. Definitely I'll simplify everything and make you to understand everything, but this is the official definition. The official documentation is given about the Spring Boot. So we take an opinionated view of the Spring platform and third-party libraries. This is very, very important. There is a word called opinionated view, and also opinionated view of the Spring platform and third-party libraries, so that you can get started with the minimum first. Most Spring Boot applications need very little Spring configurations. The primary goals is what, provide a radically faster and widely accessible getting started experience of all Spring development. So what is you understood now? What is the primary goal of the Spring Boot? The primary goal of the Spring Boot is a faster development, faster application development. Just now I told, right? So how companies are getting benefited, right? By delivering the right things in the right time. So faster delivery is possible. Faster implementation is possible using Spring Boot. Sir, how it is possible? Yes, how it is possible is what is our Spring Boot concept. We need to understand and then we need to learn. But the primary motto of the Spring Boot is what? The faster delivery. So now, sir, Spring Web MVC is there. Can't we deliver the application very fast? Meaning, why this compared to Spring Boot, right? Assume if a application implementation in Spring Web MVC is taken 10 days, the same application you can complete using Spring Boot in 3 days. How faster it is? Lot of faster. Almost 7 days of time it saved. Almost 7 days of time it saved. That means what? Spring Boot is doing some magic inside in it. Some magic it is doing. And then making the application is very fast. So what is that magic is what we need to know. So let me write the definition. So maybe please don't stick to this definition now. It may not be understand to you at this moment, but what is Spring Boot? Let us write one definition and try to understand what happens, why we need the Spring Boot. Without Spring Boot, what is the situation we will understand. First, let us write the definition. So Spring Boot, I will construct this definition from the official website of the Spring Boot. So Spring Boot is, first of all, what they have given. Using Spring Boot, we can create a standalone production grade and then Spring based applications that you can run. So what is Spring Boot? Spring Boot is an opinionated. There is a word used, opinionated. So Spring Boot is an opinionated view of, so this opinionated view of developing the Spring Boot is an, first of all, what is Spring Boot? Spring Boot is a utility framework. Utility framework with an opinionated view of developing the Spring applications with an opinionated view of developing the Spring applications rapidly. Right? So this is what the definition we can construct. So from this definition, you just understand only the rapidly, but not all the other words might be, isn't it? So rapidly meaning what? Fastly. So the main goal of here we need to write one more point also. Spring Boot provides us to develop and run a standalone application, and production grade application. Sir, what is this? You are not understanding. Don't worry, I'll explain. So production grade applications. So Spring Boot provides us to develop and run a standalone application and production grade applications as well. Standalone meaning your main method applications. Do you remember while we are learning the Java, you might have written one main method and then done your logic and then executed by compiling it and then running it. So standalone meaning what? Executing something from the command line. That is called the standalone. So using Spring Boot, we can develop this standalone applications as well as the production grade enterprise web applications as well. So we can develop the standalone applications and also we can develop the production grade enterprise applications. Here, 3 words you need to understand. What is 3 words? From this entire definition, you need to understand 3 words. That is, I was written utility framework. What is Spring Boot? I was not written Spring Boot is a technology. I was not written Spring Boot is a framework. Right? I was not used the word called framework or the technology because in the official documentation, nowhere they were mentioned it as a framework. So Spring Boot, let me go to getting started. In getting started, nowhere they will mention it as a Spring Boot. I mean Spring Boot as a framework, right? How they will mention it as a utility framework. Even they were not used the word called utility framework, but if you can see the Spring Boot documentation, another documentation, reference documentation, let's go and then see the same documentation also been mentioned there, but they were mentioned it as a utility framework. So Spring Boot makes it easy to create and open-ended approach. The same they were used and then features they were given, the goals they were given, and then quick start guide also they were given. But nowhere they were mentioned it as a technology or they were mentioned it as a framework. So it is what actually the utility framework. What is utility framework? I'll explain, but just for a sake, utility framework. And there is one more word you need to understand, opinionated. And one more word you need to understand, rapid. And I was used one more word called standalone application. And one more called production grade I have used. These are the keywords I have used in the above definition. So you need to understand each and everything. And then enterprise application. So this is what you need to now understand. However, we will understand about these. Okay, but first we will see why we need to go for the Spring Boot, and again we will come back to the Spring Boot definition. Just I was written a definition which is already there in the documentation, but with our own words or maybe with our own way of definition we were framed. That's okay. Now that's okay. But what is this Spring Boot? Why we need to use the Spring Boot? So Spring Boot, you said it is a opinionated view, and you said it is a utility framework. You say standalone applications we can develop, production grade applications we can develop, enterprise web applications we can develop, production grade or enterprise web applications. So but why we need to use the Spring Boot? Why we need to use the Spring Boot? I'll explain again. I will come back and then explain the definition very well. But before explaining the definition, we need to understand why we need to use the Spring Boot, and then I'll come back to the definition and then I will explain. So why we need to use Spring Boot, right? The only, if you can see anywhere the official documentation, they are talking about only one point. What is that one point? What is that one point? What is that one point is faster development. Faster development. So features are given, but in the primary goal, here we have seen the primary goal. In the primary goal of the Spring Boot, they clearly mentioned that their primary goal is to make the development very faster. Make the development very faster. So our primary goals: provide a radically faster and widely accessible getting started experience for all the Spring development, and be opinionated out of the box and provide a range of non-functional features. 100% these you may not understand in this moment. And absolutely no code generation. This is very important. Every person in the interview is doing a mistake here. When any interviewer will ask you a question, will Spring Boot generate the code at runtime? Then people are mentioning, yes, Spring Boot will generate the code at runtime. No, it won't generate the code at runtime. It will use the opinionated approach with the convention over configuration approach. So what is the Spring Boot? It is the opinionated, it is a opinionated view of developing the Spring applications rapidly, right? With convention over configuration approach. Sir, you are using very hard words. We are not understanding. No problem. Just see the words what I am writing. Okay. So convention over configuration. Why? Because why? Because this is what you need to know. Right? The truth is what in depth of the concepts you have to know. So maybe you can learn the things in a very simpler manner as well, but that doesn't help us. However, I will explain each and every word very clearly, but the primary motto of the Spring Boot is what rapid application development. Rapid application development. What is rapid application development? Meaning the faster development. Faster development. Application development should be happened very fast. Now the point you got in your mind, why fast, sir? Why application development need to be fast? Because of nowadays everyone is using the agile methodology in their project. So in agile methodology, we have a concept called sprints. So sprint meaning duration of time in which a set of tasks, nothing but the requirements to be delivered. So ideal sprint duration is 2 weeks. Now you may got the idea why the faster development is required, right? Why the faster development is required? Because in the project, everyone now using the agile methodology. So in agile methodology, we have to implement the set of requirements within a particular period of time. Now see, in a particular period of time, we need to implement a set of tasks. So in a particular period of time, that means maybe 2 weeks of time, I need to implement a set of tasks. Set of tasks meaning maybe login, maybe registration, maybe sending an email, maybe forgot password, maybe change password, change password, maybe dashboard implementations, maybe view customers, or maybe customer management like view customer, delete customer, edit customer, right? So product product order facing, orders placing, right? And then products visibility, lot of these are all called as what, requirements. So these requirements, maybe couple of requirements, one or two requirements. One developer may be given with 2 weeks of time. One developer may be given with 2 weeks of time to deliver the either login registration, or maybe registration sending an email, or maybe forget password, change password, or maybe login, forget password, change password. Maybe set of requirements need to be delivered by a developer within a duration of time. So when the developer is now bounded with some timeline, so what the developer now required. So when a developer is bounded with some timeline, what the developer required. Now developer required a better technology or framework or tool or utility to accomplish the tasks within the duration. In the duration to accomplish the task, he required a better technology, framework, tool, utility, whatever it is. But he want a better technology, which will take over, concentrating on the configuration, and developer can only focus on business logic implementation. That means what? In our development, we always will have the configuration plus business logic implementation. Business logic meaning what? For example, if username not equal to null, and then password not equal to null, right? Then go to DB, just like go to DB, get the roles and render the dashboard. This is what the business logic you are writing, core logic you are writing. But to do this core logic, what you need to do, you need to install the security tool. For example, maybe you need to install the database. Maybe you need to install the database, and then you need to connect to this database, right? And then you need to write the transaction management, and maybe you need to write the ORM like Hibernate, or maybe entities you need to write. So lot of things you need to write. Assume these are all are giving by some tool where you no need to write all these things. All these things is given by the tool, but you only need to write this logic. You only need to write the logic where other things are given by the tool. Assume if you have such a tool, then how beauty? Maybe to install the database, you will spend 1 hour. Maybe to connect to the database, you will write the configuration again, right? Maybe 5 minutes. And a transaction management, again, you will take maybe 1 hour to write the classes and to try the test cases, to test everything. And to write the entities, maybe you will take again 1 hour. Not entities, but at least this one. Now, how much time? Around 2 hours of time. Around 2 hours of time you spent on configuration. Around 2 hours of time you spent on the configuration. And then maybe your business logic might take 1 more 2 hours, right? Plus testing may take 1 more 2 hours. Your meetings will take 1 more 2 hours. You are done for the day. You're done for the day, right? So 2 hours you spent on the configuration, 2 hours you spent on the code writing, 2 hours you spent on the unit testing, 2 hours you spent in meeting, right? You have to deliver this by today itself, right? But assume your meetings got postponed or maybe taken time to 3 hours. Then what? You have to spend 1 extra hour here, right? Why? Because you have spent your 2 hours of time in configuration. Assume if some tool or utility is taking over this configuration and you need to work on only this business logic, then you will be saved with what? 2 hours of time in your 2 hours of time in your day. Correct? In this scenario, in this situation, you might have been saved with the 2 hours of your daytime. That means what? You could have completed your work 1 hour early, and then you could have reached your home 1 hour early, isn't it? If some tool or some technology or some framework is taking care about the configuration, so developers will only take care on the business logic implementation, whereas the configuration part is taken by whom? The tool or the framework or the utility. Then you only focus on your business logic implementation. That is the reason you will develop the applications very fast. So the tool or the framework or the utility which is taking care of the configurations is nothing but Spring Boot. Is nothing but Spring Boot. So Spring Boot is taking care of the configurations. Being a developer, you need to focus more on your business logic. That's it. You no need to install database. It will give you one database. You no need to connect to database. You just enable one property. It will connect to database. You no need to write transactions. It will take care about the transactions. Your Spring Boot will take care about all these things. You don't need to spend any time. Any of your hours of time you need to spend. Just 2 minutes of time you can spend and then configure it. That's it. It will work. So you first focus on your business logic and complete it, right? So what you understand from this one? So Spring Boot is taking care of the configuration, and developers have to only focus on the business logic implementations, and hence the developer's job becomes very easy in delivering the applications very fast within the time. Correct? So that is what the Spring Boot is said to be a utility framework. It is acting as a utility, it is acting as a framework. Both it is acting. What is framework? What is utility? Right? So these are all the things let us discuss tomorrow. So we were started now Spring Boot. So I will discuss tomorrow more about the Spring Boot actually. Now you understood only one thing, like, Spring Boot is taking care of the configurations, and the developer can only focus on the business logic implementation. As a result, the developer can be able to deliver the things rapidly. That means fastly. So how the Spring Boot will take care of the configurations, we will discuss in our tomorrow's session. Anything else for me? That's all for today. Anything else for me? Any questions for me?
Sir, can you send me the updated Spring Core document to us?
Yeah, I already have updated. Did you remember in our last
I didn't
session,
attend the last 2 classes. Okay,
I was
thank
updated.
I will take it from there. Thank you.
Yeah. So tomorrow also same link, till Friday the same link, but we will continue with the Spring Boot. So maybe others who joined, right? If they will okay, it is helpful, they will join. Otherwise, after 1 week, we'll go back to our own link and then continue. But the sessions are continuing on Spring Boot only. No deviations. Okay, so no deviations. Right. So that's all for today. Any questions for me?
Sorry to interrupt. Actually, this is the new section lo for the new students. No, actually some of the old students are also present here. So will you teach from the basics, or you will move faster because of the old students are also present here?
No. See what if that is the case, then why I should have to break down the definition into 6 or 5 points and then come from. So everything I will explain from the scratch. Even for the old students also, we were completed couple of sessions, maybe 2 to 3 sessions only completed on the Spring Boot. Those will, I'm requesting for them, those will bear with me, but everything we will start from the very scratch. So maybe if you guys will feel I'm going little faster, but tomorrow onwards let us spend some time and then try to understand the things only, then we will move ahead, meaning I will go very slow from tomorrow onwards. Okay, my intention is today is what have to explain the importance of the Spring Boot. So maybe you might now got the idea. Spring Boot is taking care of the configurations and developers only focus on the business logic. Tomorrow we will take how it is taking care of the configuration. So slowly I'll explain. Okay, but 2 to 3 classes were only happened for the existing students. So those classes they will repeat, meaning today first class is done. So maybe 2 to 3 classes they will attend and then all will be on the same page. Got my point?
Okay, sir. And also one thing, you said that you will do one project here. No, can we keep that project in the resume also, like a real-time project we have done in the company?
Yes, you can keep, because with the same standards we'll do here. But the problem is what, maybe you guys are now 50 members. 50 members can't put the same project, right? That is the problem. So maybe you assume like you are putting that project. Your other folks also maybe think in the same way and they also put the same project. That will be problem for you only. So that is the reason. Retail e-commerce, I'll explain. In the same retail e-commerce domain, you can take another project and then showcase it.
Okay,
So
like
concept is same, right?
telecommunication.
Domain is same. No, not telecommunication. Telecommunication is different domain. What I'm talking about in the retail commerce only, don't put the project name as the name that I am using here. So you may use the different project name. Concept is same, but the project names are different. Project concepts are little different, present in a different way. So I'm using here vShopify. So this will be renamed actually vShopify. Don't put in your project like vShopify. So put it is something like any other project name, but the domain should be the retail e-commerce, because you got an idea about the retail e-commerce and you did it. You can explain very well about the retail e-commerce. That is the
Sir,
point.
finally, one thing,
Got it, na?
before this Spring Boot and microservices, we have to have the knowledge on Java and Jdbc servlets. That's enough, no?
That's enough, meaning Spring Core is also required. Without Spring Core it is very tough you to understand. That is the reason Spring Core videos we will provide. So if you guys are good enough confident, like while going these demos, if you can go and then brush up your Spring Core, then you can easily go on the Spring Boot actually. But Spring Core is mandatory. It is mandatory.
So that
Servlets,
means
JDBC, JR, JDBC,
uh, that means
tell me.
parallelly we have to learn this Spring Core also every day.
Correct. Spring Core is mandatory. If you know Spring Core, attend the sessions. If you don't know Spring Core, maybe not entertain to attend the sessions, because Spring Core is key concepts. So if you are able to manage, that's up to you. That's what I'm telling. If you
Okay, as
guys are
of
able
now
to
we don't
manage,
know
like
Spring
by
Core.
following the rules.
The last thing, as of now we don't know Spring Core. That means tomorrow onwards, can we able to understand these things or
Correct.
not?
Without Spring Core, it is little difficult actually to make it understand without Spring Core. Little different. Going forward, what we'll do, maybe what I'm telling is here. If you can see somewhere, we are using some annotations here. If you can see, these are all the annotations we have used. At the rate controller, right? At the rate auto wired, right? So why we are using this is what you have to know. You guys have to know what is dependency injection, how many ways we can do the dependency injection, what is auto wiring, right? What is component, what is stereotype. So these are the basic things that required to go with the Spring Boot. Okay, whatever the basics are required to this, I already have covered actually. So that is the reason, as now starting the Spring Boot, from Spring Boot onwards, so I'm not again going back to the Spring Core sessions. So this course is suitable for the guys who already completed the Spring Core. They can be easily able to join this course. If you don't know Spring Core, but sir, I will manage the Spring Boot, I will follow the Spring Core recordings, that's up to you. You can also join. Because to start the development, Spring Boot development, it might take 2 to 3 days of time. Within that 2 to 3 days of time, if you can get some basic knowledge on the Spring Core, we'll be able to survive. That is what. Fine. Any questions for me? Okay. Hey, it is clear, folks. Without Spring Core, it is not manageable. Meaning, upfront, I'm telling you. Maybe I can tell some lie and then I can make you to attend this session, but I don't want to do that. Without Spring Core, understanding Spring Boot is difficult. Understanding Spring Boot is difficult for sure. So the prerequisite is what? Spring Core. Who know the Spring Core, or who will be able to manage the Spring Core using the recorded videos by daily going through, please attend the sessions. Okay, fine. Okay, sure. So that's all from my side, folks. I will add today's notes in our classroom and then see you tomorrow with the Spring Boot, how it is taking care of the configurations. So let us take one Spring WebMVC application, see the problems in it, and then understand how the problems will be eliminated using the Spring Boot. Okay, fine. Thank you so much, guys. See you tomorrow at the same time.
Hello,
See
sir.
you. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir,
Go ahead.
Sir, could you please share the Spring Boot content document and the diagram? So, classroom.
Oh, those were not there?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Let me
Yes.
right away add this. Right away. Architectural. Right now, architectural documents. Right away, I will add those documents. Okay, so that these are
And
very
the-
important.
Yes, sir.
Architectural documents.
And sir, the Spring Boot content document that which you have shown. So here all this
Sure.
content.
I'll upload. I'll upload.
Oh, so thank you, sir.
I'll upload right away. Right away, I'll upload. Yeah. Okay, guys, that's all from my side. If you have any questions, if not, I will drop off for today and see you tomorrow. And I am uploading the architectural documents and then, yeah. Any questions?
Sir, how many days these demo sessions are there?
Till Friday.
Till Friday. And
Till Friday, but after 2 days, go ahead.
where will get this demo session? Like I missed some parts, so like I want to watch.
These demo things will be directly given to your Gmail. I mean, the link will be shared to your Gmail. Probably while registering for the class today, you might have given your email ID, right?
Yeah.
So to that email ID, they will send the recording link. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, folks. That's all.
Sir, finally,
from my
last
side.
thing I want to ask.
Yeah. Thank you.
You told that the persons who know Spring, that means you just told Spring Core, without knowing the Spring Core, we can't learn Spring Boot now. As of now, I don't know Spring Core and I can't manage the two things parallelly. So what should I do now, sir? I have to wait for the next batch.
First attend. Correct. First learn the Spring Core. And then attend for the boot batches. Maybe not only mine, right? So maybe any other batches also, but the prerequisite is for a Spring Core. Honestly speaking, Spring Core is very, very important for us to understand the Spring Boot. Without that, we cannot understand for sure. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Fine. So that's all, guys. I'm stopping my screen share.